Class. Welcome to week 5 of the second half of the Book of Mormon. Brother Siemens here. Welcome to my basement. Typically, make these videos Friday before I leave from work, and obviously I did not do that. My mom needed a little bit of help right after work, so I ran over and we're trying to help her out, and it took a little bit longer, but hey, at least mom was taken care of. And so, anyways, this is the cave. It's a beautiful place to be in the summer. It's nice and cool. In the winter, I got the water heater and the heater behind me, and so it stays nice and toasty. But I hope you're excited for this coming week's study. First 9 chapters of the Book of Helaman. Um, you're aware, I'm hoping, that this Book of Helaman has been told by the brethren that what happens in the Book of Helaman is going to be a type of what happens before the second coming. So, in Third Nephi, Christ is coming to the Americas, and that is what's going to happen, in the future, in the millennium. And so this Book of Helaman, first part of the book of Third Nephi, they're side by side comparisons. And so just keep that in mind as you're studying this week. We finished up the war chapters. You had a wonderful discussion board and lots of insights in regards to that battle we're fighting. What's interesting in my mind as we start the Book of Helaman is that you go from that the war chapters and all that stuff that happened there to maybe some government intrigue, but what I personally like is how the storyline focuses from national security to family security. At least that's what I saw. I just love how the beginning of the Book of Helaman, has the prophet speaking to his sons and encouraging them and strengthening them and talking about, why he named him what he named him, and these great faithful men in the Book of Mormon, how he knows how they can live up and be like that. And that is just so inspiring to me. And so I love that. I put in my notes, my favorite scripture in all scripture is Helaman 5:12, and so I just love this fact that we live in a world that is scary. We live in a world that I don't even think we can imagine how much worse it will be, and world spread wickedness, but if we're built upon the foundation of Christ, He's not going anywhere. He's won. He's worked His atonement, and if we can just, connect with Him, build our home secured to that foundation, it's a foundation that's not going to fall, and so Satan will come and he will try to destroy us, but try to latch on to Christ. And so, keep those thoughts bounced around your head, saying that this is my future, and I'm a part of a family, and I have children, and how can I help them? And maybe the Spirit will prompt some wonderful things for you. If the ending of this book is so interesting. If you could remember, we're going to have Nephi up on a tower, and he's praying to God, and he's pouring out his heart, and everybody gathers around, and they're like, man, what's wrong with him, and so he comes down, he's like, oh, do you really want to know what's wrong? And anyways, and so he has his captive audience, and then he does his prophecies, and he talks about the governor being murdered, and it's his brother, and you have the back and forth communication, and it's word for word, what Nephi says is going to happen is what happens. You just gotta just love that story. It's just a fun story. But what I'd like to do, just read one little verse off of my phone here. Now, forgive me. This is chapter 10, verse 1, and I know that's not part of your reading, but it's at the end of that whole reading. This is just so interesting. So again, Nephi's proven that he's a prophet, right? He's like, I am a prophet. There's evidence. And then it says here in verse 1 of chapter 10, and it came to pass that there arose a division among the people, insomuch they divided hither and thither, and went their ways, leaving Nephi alone as he was standing in the midst of them. Can you imagine that there's all this evidence that Nephi is a prophet, that he speaks the words of the Lord, that he's not lying, and they're like, oh, okay, I'll leave him alone. You're believers, you're faithful, you're followers of prophet. Keep it up.